Hello, Stoffel van Doorn.
Stoffel, it's Jensen. Just wondering how you're feeling.
I'm feeling fine.
No illnesses, no aches, no pains, no problems with, driving?
I told you I'm fine.
Okay, just checking. Bye.
Every single day. Hello and welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. I'm Gareth, he's Zog.
Hello.
And he's Richard.
Hello.
Nice to have the full team together as we get mildly excited about the new cars emerging for the 2017 F1 season. Have you been keeping up with the launches, Zog?
I haven't been following them super close. I've been onto a few of the websites straight after launch and took a look. Yeah, mixed bag. Very mixed bag, I think.
Which is a good thing for us. Richard, do you get excited when the new cars come out? I do.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's been quite interesting. I've been following it quite closely because I'm trying to write an F1 guide for Sniff Petrol, which is a bit expanded this year and will be arriving via different channels and possibly in exchange for money. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of an experiment, but it's one that I've gone into a bit too deeply now to stop. And the missing piece, I've written track guide and all manner of other bits of nonsense. But then obviously the sort of core of it is the guide to each team. And that can't really be fully written until the cars are revealed and we get a little bit more of an indication of how things are going. So now they've all come out this week, I've been sort of furiously paying attention and then trying to write it all down in some way that's more flippant and amusing than actually factual.
Good.
That's okay.
And the great thing is about this, and I was sceptical about the rule changes, but what it's done is it's shaken things up to such a degree, it seems like people have come up with lots of different solutions to the same problems. And so some cars have the fins, some don't, some have incredibly complex front wings and some don't.
But it surprised me a little that the cars don't look more different to last year. That's one of my big takeaways. I mean, I like the variety, but
there's a reason for that.
I was expecting more,
There's a reason.
Yeah.
I always think that the fact that the liveries are so familiar to each team, it generally disguises the changes in the cars. And if we saw them sort of in... Well, we don't say in bare white body in F1, it's bare black body. I think we'd probably notice the differences. Let's have a look at the cars. We'll start with those most likely to win the championship. I think we can probably say that. The Mercedes AMG... Now, is it a W08 or is it a W08? There's your question. Everyone says WO, don't they? But I think it's a 0, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 0. But you can say O for 0.
No, you can't.
I think,
018118055.
I've been saying W08, but...
I can't. I will never say... Phone numbers I always give out as 07 something. Never.
I probably do as well. I don't know. I would if I was speaking to someone abroad for some reason.
Or on a bad line.
Clearer. Yes, on a bad line. Or if I was impersonating a robot. 0.
Zero.
Good.
0.
Yes.
0001. So let's have a look at the W0/08. We've got a picture of it on the screen here. You can't see it at home, but if you close your eyes and imagine, we'll try and describe it for you. It's silver. It's a little bit wider than it was last year. It's quite a lot longer than it was last year. That's the surprise for me. Lewis described this car as looking like a boat. Did you hear that? He said, it's like a boat. There's so much bodywork. And I know what he means. It's a longer, leaner thing, isn't it?
Is it? I don't understand the boat thing. What I'm fascinated about with this car is two things. First of all, incredibly slatty front wing. That's a technical term, slatty. And then it's got a lot of floor that sticks out the sides. They've tightly packed the bodywork around the engine behind the driver. Once the side pods have sort of gone past the driver, they taper in dramatically. There's all that floor that sticks out. Again, a technical word. I don't know what you'd really call it. But I looked at that and immediately went, someone's going to tread on that.
Yeah.
Someone's going to tread on that and break
and it will be expensive.
I thought, someone's going to tread on that, and I thought, oh God, what if it's me? I know I'm not going to go anywhere near that car. The chances of me going anywhere near that car are very slim, but I just thought, oh, what a faux pas that would be.
I know.
Memo to self, if ever near that car, don't tread on the floor.
Richard, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It is carbon fibre. You probably could not only just stand on it, but bounce up and down. You can do that on the front wing.
But it's one of these things where you have to...
Exactly,
it depends what direction it's designed to be strong.
I bet you could break that really easily.
No, you
accidentally
can't.
treading on it.
I
once almost accidentally trod on the back of a lady's wedding dress as she was going down some stairs.
Was it carbon fibre?
Long story, no. No, it wasn't. It was wedding dress material, which, as we know, is the most expensive radioactive material known to man.
What I do really like about this design is that it doesn't have the shark fin. So for me, for that alone, it makes it one of the best looking cars of this year's crop.
Now, you know why we've got these shark fins, don't you? It's because the rear wing is now so much lower than it was previously, which is a stupid idea. If you want to improve the racing, let me be clear on that. A stupid idea. The idea of putting those...
so?
Well, we've now got rear wings which are lower and are going to disrupt the airflow directly in front of the car behind it. When the wings were higher, it allowed the car to run behind in cleaner air and therefore allowed closer racing. This is not going to help it. And the reason we've got these shark fins is that it improves the laminar flow, it improves the airflow to the rear wing now that it's lower. You have to do that to it. These wings like the air to hit it perpendicularly. And if you've got a big fin, what that does is when you've got a car in yaw, it stops the air from yawing over the rear wing, so it improves the performance of the rear wing. It's a desperate attempt. The fin is a repair job because they've put
because they can't put
lower.
the wings any higher.
Yeah, anymore. Madness, I tell you. Madness.
Although one of the things they were trying to do this year was increase the drag and downforce on the cars. And whatever you do, that's going to create that disruption to the airflow over the front wing of the car that's following close behind.
They're less
that was always
effective.
surely going to be an issue with this year's...
Should have done away with them.
What Mercedes have done instead, which we can't see because I don't think it's on this car that we're looking at in this picture, is they've got that extra little T-bar thing that pops up, which they're saying is some kind of loophole. And I'm wondering if anyone else is going to suddenly
Explain
sprout
that
those.
just for anyone that doesn't...
It's a horizontal aerodynamic vane that sits forward of the rear wing where the shark fin ends, more or less, which manages the airflow onto the top surface of the rear wing. Ferrari have got one and Mercedes
Williams
have got one. Williams got one?
Yeah, I think
I didn't spot that.
Because
Ferrari
they're quite finny, aren't they? They've got a big old fin.
Unless I'm getting it mixed up with the...
I don't know whether you need the T-bar with the
we'll flip
fin.
through, actually. No, I'm maybe getting it mixed up.
We're looking at the next car, which is the Red Bull. I'm just checking to see what the number of this year's Red Bull is.
RB13.
Oh,
Unlucky
you're
for
a
some.
good lad, of
That's
course.
their slogan.
Now, this has got a heck of a shark's fin on it. A ruddy, great, vertical, slab-sided, put your advertising here board.
Well,
Although they have
me-
very cleverly disguised it in this photograph.
Yeah.
This won't work in real life, by the way. But in this photograph, it's very cleverly disguised by the fact that the car is photographed at a kind of three-quarter front angle against a very dark background, and the fin is almost exactly the same very dark colour, and you've then got the Red Bull painted on the side of it. So
yeah, they've tried
so
to
basically
trick
it's
the
disguised
eye.
it. They're tricking the eye,
But
and you don't see.
You can still see the slabby great fin, and weirdly, it looks to me you get the same effect as you do when looking at the van version of a normal estate car. It's quite weird, like those van Citroen BXs they used to have in France.
Oh,
yes. where the back side windows
Oh, right,
after
where they're
the
black,
driver's
painted like
door,
they're painted out.
are all blanked in.
Yeah. Or the
And that-
Astra van.
It looks like like the Astra van. Yes, it looks like they've sort of something's been blanked in. There should be a window there,
Yeah.
except of course what there really should be is just you should be able to see through the other side, not
Now,
because of a window. 'cause
I
there's
believe Adrian
no fin.
Newey's been a bit more involved in this car than he has been previously in the last couple of years at Red Bull, because now he's an overseer rather than a hands-on guy, because of the massive changes to the cars in the last year rule change. And the thing that I'm very interested in is the tip of the nose of this car. I love the way that they disguise that horrible nasal protuberance by not painting it the same colour as the yellow in the Red Bull sphere at the front. But there's a hole right at the very, 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 very front of the nose. Now, air's going in there. Where's it going?
It's a Newey thing, isn't it? You just look at that and you go, oh, you clever. Once again, Newey's thought of something no one else has.
Best place to
Wow.
have your input,
That's
right at the front.
Interesting. Yeah.
Best possible place. So, Red Bull, they've done something. Everyone else is going, damn, 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 wish we'd thought of that. Right.
And again, in the usual Newey way of sort of tightly packaging everything, this is another tapering car, isn't it? And there's a bit of floor for me to tread on if I ever get close to it. Oh, what a faux pas.
And it still has the sturgeon front nose.
The Nicola, we call it the Nicola.
The fish,
Yeah.
rather than...
Oh, no, not the Scottish. All right, yeah.
Sturgeon the fish, not Sturgeon the politician. It's got there's something, just the way that
I know
Just
what you
the
mean.
drop, it's a funny look, isn't it?
We like that, RB13. Now, I'm slightly worried about this car because Renault say that they've made huge leaps and bounds this year, that their engine suddenly is a contender. And we know that the Red Bull chassis was great last year. When I say I'm worried for Mercedes. If any car is going to take it to Mercedes this year, there it is, the RB13. I'm saying it now. They haven't run in anger. What do I know? Okay, going down the grid, we have to go to Ferrari next, don't we? The SF70H. They're quite keen on the hybrid thing, aren't they? Again, a protuberance on the front nose, which annoys me a little bit. And what else can we say about it? Oh, yes, it's got a T-plane forward of the rear wing.
But but the Mercedes one stands on a little pylon thing. But because they've gone for the maximum fin, which again they've tried to disguise by sort of painting it white, where the rest of the car is red, but it doesn't work.
No, I mean,
it's a bit silly.
It looks huge. It looks absolutely
massive,
enormous.
It's proper Boeing spec.
Not in a good way.
Transit spec.
And then it's sprouted these funny little wings over top of it, which sort of looks like it's sort of got a seagull trying to escape from it.
That is exactly what it looks like.
And
It's
they've
not
also...
a pretty car, is it? You'd struggle to call that a pretty
It's
car.
a busy car. It's a bit busy.
It's an assemblage of bits.
And
know,
if you
it's
look at
all-
the side pods, the air intakes on the Ferrari SF70H, it's got what I describe as the Wallace and Gromit look to it. If you make that shape with your mouth, you put the centre of your mouth together and keep saying it's open like that, that's a very Wallace and Gromit mouth, isn't it? Curious.
It is a bit, yeah.
But there's a lot going on the Ferrari, I think. The front wings have all gone mad this year to varying degrees, but they've got the usual busy front wing, and then you've got the side pod bits sprouting off it all over the place. And then the sort of the arrangement of the air intake above the driver's head, and there's some more sproutage around that, and it's just, busy.
But if it turns out to be quick, we're suddenly going to find that car a lot more appealing. It's suddenly going to make a lot more sense to us if it's quick.
I sort of hope it's quick because it would be nice for them to be up the front there and challenging Mercedes. On the other hand, I sort of hope it's not quick because I always find it hilarious when Ferrari aren't very good because they get so wound up.
And also, something that looks that inelegant doesn't deserve to be quick.
Well, the old adage,
aesthetic
if it looks good, it probably is. That Ferrari doesn't look very good.
It doesn't, no.
I want Ferrari to do well because I like Maurizio Riva buses. I think he's a top man.
Hang on. He's been in that job for what, 2 years now?
3 possibly.
Is
no?
it? So, I mean, by Ferrari standards, he's well overdue a sacking.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's done well, hasn't he?
Yeah, don't remind them.
I like him. I like Kimi. And do you know what? I like Vettel at Ferrari. I like Vettel. Don't have a problem with Vettel.
He needs a better tailor for his race overall
baggy,
time.
isn't it?
He's doing the...
He errs on the Villeneuve
Jacques
side of
Villeneuve.
things,
It is
yeah.
it's a bit Villeneuve, isn't it?
One final thought on this before we take a brief break to talk about the other cars in a moment. Have you seen the air scoops on the front discs for the Ferrari SF70? If you look at them, isn't that the Teletubbies periscope that they're using? You know, the thing that comes up and goes, time for Teletubbies, time for Teletubbies. Hello, Toto.
Hello, Ross. Well done on becoming managing director of motorsport. Hopefully you will make the rules as clear as your beard is not.
Thanks. So I just popped in to check the new car and make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, and here it is. I think you will find everything is within the regulations.
Yeah, everything looks pretty good here. Interesting aero work on the nose. Looks like very tight packaging around the power unit. And some interesting... sorry, I seem to have stepped on the aero floor thing here.
You fool! Testing is tomorrow and you have broken the car!
This is rather awkward. Is there anything I can do to mend it?
Yeah, I need your clothes and your motorcycle.
What?
Sorry, force of habit. Nicky, kill him!
Step Central! We Gareth Jones on speed!
We're going through the new F1 2017 cars, and we were just trying to decide which order to do them in. We've looked at the top 3 contenders, but what's the correct order for the middle grid? And between us, we've sort of agreed that it's Force India next.
The way that Formula One orders things is always based on the manufacturer's standings at the end of the last season, and weirdly, that means Force India next. Who knew?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
snuck in there.
Well, they've got a Mercedes engine, that's going to help, isn't it?
Yeah.
But look at the nose on the VJ M10. It's got the worst forehead. The change of angle between the droop snoot. Do you remember the Magnum or the Firenze? That change of angle there, it really kicks up, and you've got a completely horizontal section
It's a
to
very
the cockpit.
inelegant
I was told
front end.
once by an architect that you can spot lazy staircase design in office buildings and things, because if you've got a staircase that goes up a bit and then turns sharply 90 degrees and then back 90 degrees back on itself again, sort of staircase going up, the banister, if the architect's done all the maths properly and everything, it should go in one smooth loop. So it goes up and then it's just a little horizontal bit and then it continues at sort of an angle up. And if it doesn't, it's got a step in. And you see this quite a lot. If once you know to look for it, I see it all the time and it really annoys me. Yeah. In fact, the office that I work in for the Grand Tour has it on the staircase up to the mezzanine level, and it just goes up. And then there's this ugly little step bit to take the banister up to then the next thing. That has got that on the nose.
This is really...
The nickname of this car is the Ugly Banister.
Unfortunately, you've now introduced me to another thing that's going to bother me about the world. This is not good. This is nothing. It's just going to kind of annoy me about every building I
Every time you walk upstairs, you're going to say, oh, yeah, see, you've got a Force India on your staircase.
I'm sorry for that, but may you suffer as I do going,
thank you.
That's a badly designed staircase.
I share your pain.
It's got a bluff forehead.
I was going to say they're obviously gagging for new sponsors, given that huge expanse of white space on the side of the shark's fin.
Yeah, but again, it looks like
they're actually not doing that badly, right?
The background is the same colour as the fin, and the fin is almost deliberately left blank when that looks like prime advertising territory. Yeah. I think these teams are embarrassed about their fins and are trying in their initial photographs just to downplay it as much as possible, hoping that the casual glance you will miss that it's got this ruddy grey fin thing sticking up the side.
If you look at the advertising on the Force India, two of them are actually owned by Force India. Sahara is actually one of the owners of the team. The other one is Kingfisher, which of course is Vijay Mallya. Who else have we got on there? We've got the name of the car on the side, the Vijay M10. Who is FXTM? We don't know, but that's the point of advertising. Johnny Walker on the rear. That's good.
I'm not sure that is the point of advertising, because really, I look at that and I go, ooh, Kingfisher. Should go for a curry sometime soon. That's good. You go, and then I'll go in the restaurant and I'll say I'll have a pint of Kingfisher, please.
Yep.
I can't be bothered to look up FXT. I mean,
you need some familiarity.
They don't sound like they make anything I want.
Familiarity with the brand. Well, this is sponsorship, not advertising, and so it's a thing that's going to reinforce your loyalty to a brand, perhaps, or make you feel better towards something.
So, where do we go next after Force India? Is it McLaren or is it Williams?
I think it's Williams.
It is. The FW40. By the way, what happened to the FW39? We went straight from the 38.
Well, it's 3 times 13,
so yeah, they've jumped 3 times 13. Oh,
we'd be
incredibly superstitious.
Maybe, I don't know. But the first thing that I thought when I saw the launch pictures for the new Williams, that nose, you remember 2000 AD? Actually, also 40 years old, I think, this year.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you remember Nemesis the Warlock?
No. I don't.
Well, he was an alien warlock. There you go. That's what you need to know.
They have those, of course.
The nose of that Williams, that is Nemesis the Warlock's nose.
We'll look it up.
It's part of the paint job. It's part of it's an all-black wing with a rather elegant martini-liveried nose kind of blending into it.
They've done the best job of incorporating the livery into the shape of the car, I think, on the Martini Williams. It's still got the most beautiful livery of them all, I would argue.
No embarrassment about the fin either. They've run the Martini stripe across the fin, which is good. Make some use of it. Why not put that really cool striping over there? I like the way they've blacked in the front wing as well.
Yeah, it looks...
And then blacked in so it's sort of... In fact, if you look at it, it's like there's a tide mark around the whole car. It's got the bottom portion is blacked in like an old Rover 200.
And there's a rather lovely way that nose sweeps up from the wing, and it's got an elegant curve through the cockpit and then into the back of the car. I think that's probably the best looking car.
Yeah, it's the one with the best compound curves.
Have you noticed who's sponsoring the rear wing?
Martin? Oh, JCB.
Yeah, JCB.
JCB, I wrote to Eddie Jordan a long time ago suggesting JCB is the perfect sponsor for Jordan, and I'm not certain how convinced he was about it because of the whiff of Irish navy that comes with it as well. But it would have been perfect in terms of colour and, Britishness. It would have been great for them. Glad to see it on the Williams. But they've missed a trick. Do you remember Williams used to have sponsorship from Gillette? a long time ago. Have you seen the front wings these days? They're like these 7 or 25 element front wings, like the best a man can get.
Yeah.
Should have Gillette written all over that. It actually looks like the product that you would buy. I should work in advertising. Certainly not podcasting. Well done. I'm liking that one. I'm with you, Zog.
Yeah,
the gradual curve from the nose.
And also, for the sort of the publicity picture of the front three-quarter, you can see by the way that Rexona branding, sort of the lettering looks almost distorted because of the amount of sculpting that's in the side of the car. It really, there's some very fine detail, I suspect, gone on there.
Yeah,
You sure that says
it's quite organic, if you'll forgive me saying that. It looks like something from nature rather than something
increasingly
technical.
Roxana.
all the gills, the feathery cutaways that are now appearing on wings. I've said this every year, and they're increasing every year. We get more and more aerodynamic, more and more like eagles, and heck, they know how to manage airflow. So I'm with them on that. So after Williams, we go to now
McLaren, surely.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
okay.
So. Gotta be.
The McLaren MCL 32. There's an awful lot to say about this car, but we have to talk about the orange elephant in the room. What do you think?
Yeah, everyone got a bit carried away with going, oh, it's orange, and it's
orange. Looks good.
It's orange.
I like the orange.
Fine. Well, I like orange. Orange is one of my very favourite colours, and
of course.
But weirdly applied with the black to a racing car like this, you start thinking, it looks like a lot of other things from the past, like an old Arrows or something.
Yep.
It's odd, isn't it?
Arrows and Spiker.
Yes.
And of course, it's not McLaren's orange, because McLaren's orange is papaya, which is a slightly more tangerine, paler interpretation of the colour. This is orange. It is not McLaren's orange.
It's actually an orange you can get on the McLaren road cars.
That's right, yes.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I mean, I like it. I do like it, and it's interesting. It's different. It's distinctive. You know, you get a spotted car. It's a bit more exciting than the old grey on grey on grey that they had before.
But it certainly is real visual break with the past. They've really thrown it on that.
And to drop the name MP4 as well. I mean, that's just cruel, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. I think it's sort of psychologically, if you're in the doldrums, and there's no better way of making a fresh start than going, everything's new. Whether it'll actually work, you need to back it up with some pretty sharpish results. But
granted, McLaren's recent history isn't particularly glorious.
Yes.
But when you've got as much fantastic heritage as McLaren has, you want to be careful about ditching too much of it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's true. I mean, obviously, when you say MP4 was also the name that was attached to all of their championship-winning cars, I could see your point. But it's only a name, isn't it? I don't know. I think they just wanted
What's in a name?
They wanted to spite Ron, I think. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I
think
hear
that's
that
the main
the
reason for
factory's
doing it.
really messy now as well, just to annoy him.
The two most interesting things about this car for me are, have you seen the barge boards? There's a sort of a staggered barge board on the outboard of the air intakes on the side, the cooling pods, as it were, with that sort of hatchet sweep with a vertical out. I've never seen anything like that ever in Formula One. Fascinating, arguably desperate, I don't know, but equally innovative. Is look at the mount, the way that the front element of the front wing is hung onto the nose of the car by the tiniest and tiniest, that's something we saw last year, the tiniest of hitch points. But behind that, you've got this extended horizontal, like gills with slots in them. I've never seen anything like that before, and that's clearly managing the airflow underneath the car. Very interesting.
It's funny, that thing that goes up the sides of then the sort of proboscis of the nose.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like it's all built in, so it doesn't look adjustable, which is weird, because obviously the front wings are highly adjustable. But I don't know. The thing that's worth bearing in mind when we're talking about all this sort of aerodynamic stuff on here, or as I was watching on the Red Bull website this morning, the interviews with the drivers, and Daniel Ricciardo referred to the aerodynamic wind, and then kind of laughed and admitted that he didn't really know what he was talking about. I think he concluded with, I'll just drive the car. So he doesn't, he's not pretending he knows about this stuff. But what's interesting about all the sort of aerodynamic appendages that are on these cars that have been revealed this week, this is just the first stab, isn't it? And I wonder whether in some ways, almost they're just putting on the stuff that gives a vague idea. Within the regulations, they are allowed to change things, and I think they will change things a lot after they get their eye in with a bit of testing.
Yeah, 2 or 3 races in, maybe the cars look a bit different. Yeah.
Talking about sponsorship on this car before we move on, see it says CNN on the top of the air intake there.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're going to get stuff from McLaren saying McLaren win the 2017 champion? Fake news.
No, because fake news is a bullshit thing made up by a psychotic man.
Correct. correct.
It's a bit of a trigger phrase for me, that fake news. It's yeah.
So we're down to the bottom end of the grid now. Do we do Renault or Sauber or Haas next?
If we're following correct championship order, I think it's actually Toro Rosso.
It is. Where's the Toro Rosso car? Oh, sorry, it hasn't saved on here. Toro Rosso, the STR12, the last one to appear, which only happened about 10 minutes before we started recording
And
this.
it was delayed. Why was it delayed? By
something to do with the engine.
Right.
Yeah, because they were launching it at Barcelona.
Oh, yeah.
And I like the fact that there's a very clear distinction between this and the Red Bull now with the colours.
I really like that colour scheme.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it?
Really like it.
With the silver. This is the diet drink, isn't it? The Red Bull Diet, I believe.
Well, they're still advertising the utterly disgusting cola on the back wing. I don't know. It's
something cola.
Yeah, it's the Red Bull cola, which is revolting. I've tried it. It's really horrible.
The very tip of the nose of the STR12 is the most elegant and uncorrupted of all the noses in F1 at the moment.
That's
and I applaud them for that.
Old-looking car. I don't personally object to the fins as much as some people seem to, but there would be more elegant without them, this big slab stuck on that. But look at the front of that, is absolutely delightful.
Fascinating. Good luck, Toro Rosso. Got some good drivers.
Big shark fin again, but...
have they got some... I don't know. Have they got some good drivers? They've got Kvyat, who is...
And Sainz.
Sainz
is tremendous.
Yeah, Sainz, good. Sainz, good, but I'm not sure about Kvyat.
So, after Toro Rosso, very quickly, we go to Sauber before Haas?
No.
Renault?
No, the sad truth is Sauber are last. Oh. So, I think
it's either Haas or Renault, isn't it?
Go to Renault.
Renault.
Oh, do we?
Well, we're looking at Renault.
We are
anyway.
the Renault car, so let's look at that.
Love the colours.
Yeah.
That's
But have
good,
you seen
strong black and yellow scheme.
The overalls they're making the drivers wear?
Yes,
oh
I
my
know.
saints! They look like trawlermen.
They do.
Bright yellow. Well, what it looks like because they've done a split
got the kind
on
of
the one
dungaree
piece.
thing.
Bright yellow trousers, effectively. It looks like they're wearing with a black top. I mean, short of having the sort of braces to hold the trousers up, they both look like they're about to go off and trawl for cod.
They do.
It's really awful. It's worse than last season where they had the yellow thing but every time they did, as racing drivers do, peel the overalls down halfway to reveal the Yoshinomax fireproof underneath, which is sort of very, very pale yellow, almost cream. They look like opened bananas.
You see, if there's one thing, if you know you're not going to win any races, or you know you're not even going to get on the podium, at least you could make your drivers look cool.
Just give them some dignity, and they looked like absolute chumps. Right. It was hilarious. The yellow and black looks much better on the car, I think.
Interesting that the front wing is all glossy black.
Yeah.
But the air intake and that area, the engine cover, is all matte black.
Oh, yes.
Make up your mind. It's like being in a Renault Megane Sport.
But
but that mixture of the different sort of tones of black, the glossy and the matte. I like that. No, I like that. That's
pretty good. And also, there's some more shenanigans going on at the front with sort of some kind of rear extending things either side of the nose.
Yeah.
That aren't part of the front wing as such.
Yeah, bit like the McLaren.
But I know the McLaren no slots
without
in
slats.
it.
It's like a sort of solid
there?
version of the.
It's a sort of an
it's like
early
a vein that's
dual
sort of
keel,
guiding the.
But that's
airflow.
quite a nice looking car, isn't it? I think.
No S scoop, like some of the cars have that S scoop, which allows the transfer of air from underneath the nose to the top surface of the nose. Renault aren't doing that.
And they've got a kind of simpler, it's a slightly simpler front wing than some of the others, not quite so multi-element.
Yep.
Do you know what I'd have done?
I wouldn't have had Castrol.
Hear me out on this one. I would have painted the fin on that car the same yellow as the nose.
Yes.
And so that sort of central body bit that's matte black is sort of more emphasised, and just go nuts and make a virtue of the fin, because you can't pretend they're not there, because they are. And you can't permanently drive your car around against a matching background to disguise it. So why not just go, it's got a fin on it, because that's the best we could do to try and make the sense of these regulations. And look, it's bright yellow, just like the front.
Just
deal with it.
Yeah.
If I were Liberty, I would insist that all the teams painted their shark's fin blue or green and then use chroma key to rub them out in transmission. They would just vanish. Okay, that's the Renault RS17. We now go to Haas before Sauber, I'm afraid to say. Poor Sauber. Haas, not Haas. Haas, they've gone for this nice sort of grey I was talking about in the last show, Richard.
Yeah, it is that grey, isn't it?
Which
It's
is
a nice
sort of
grey.
To be honest,
satin.
in this picture, it looks like it's still in primer. It looks like they haven't finished painting it.
Yeah.
You know,
It's true, actually, because have you noticed something I saw recently, which is exactly that colour? The development prototypes of the Ford GT road car. There's pictures, there are various things, because the prototypes are bashing the roads at the moment, just debugging them, and they've, amongst other things, they got stopped by the cops, and they've been spotted all over the United States. And the development cars are this brilliant undercoaty grey.
Front wing again looks very rudimentary. Big slab-sided square end plates to the front wing. I said that last year, and they're going with it. They're sticking.
It's weird, isn't it? It's a bit odd. Again, it's not the prettiest car because there's some sort of business going on around the side pods, like there's a sort of double layered effect, and it's all a bit. Something's happening in front of that as well.
But if you look at the shark's fin, fair play to them, at least they've sculpted away the rear end of the shark's fin, which gives it some sense of dynamism rather than just a big broad advertising plate. And they've got this black and red and white pattern on the shark fin as well, which is interesting. Fair play.
That's right. And more floor. Look at that. I mean, somebody is going to tread on that bit that's sticking outside. I know it's probably brilliant for aero, but somebody is going to step on it.
Yeah, or
on the
also
grid, just before the race, somebody from, I don't know.
It's worrying you.
You can eat your lunch off
It
it,
is.
probably. It'd be nice, or,
But then it'll just be, somebody will go, you got
Keep some
tyre warmers off
paperwork
yet?
there.
Yeah, I'm just going to do it. Oh, crack.
And finally, the Sauber, is it the C36? Is that what it's called this year?
Yes.
It is, the C36, which the gold really helps, doesn't it? I think the gold detailing on this makes it look classy.
Yes, I mean, that's not necessarily a hard and fast rule for life, is it?
No.
As Donald Trump has taught us. But this, in this instance,
This is
the gold
classy
well
gold,
judged,
not
isn't it?
bling gold.
Yeah,
It
it's actually quite nice, and it's a bit different. And I'm just very pleased that they've been that old livery, which I always thought made them look like they were running some crap GP2 car. It's sort of this proper, nice, grown-up F1 livery.
But there's an innovation on this car which not many people have talked about, which is unique to this car and has never been seen, as far as I know, in F1 before. Look at the air intake behind where the driver sits.
Is that split in two?
Yeah,
Is that got
it is a
divider?
central vertical pillar rather than a roll hoop, giving you two intakes, left and right, which are probably, I don't know if they're separating them for cooling different elements or they're combining them and then separating them, but that rigid fin at that point is something that's never emerged before. I like to see new stuff.
Interesting.
Is that true? Has it definitely never been done before?
Not that I've ever
I
seen.
wonder why.
Maybe it doesn't work.
Adrian knew he's sitting at home going, yeah, I thought of that, and then I discovered why you don't do it. And they've got to find out the hard way. They've blacked in the fin on this car, haven't they? Which is quite, again, sort of apologetic.
But it does also have the same sort of scalloping, that cutout in the back.
It's not a slab, is it? It's actually quite dynamic. It's a bit sport billy. It's good.
That improves a fin if you do that, rather than just that vertical trailing edge to the fin.
And I like the way, in the absence of any meaningful sponsorship on this car, they've put the 25 years thing on, which is fair enough. If you've done 25 years in F1, plenty of people have been and gone in that time, and they've clung on in there.
They should be proud of it, and they've been a proper team. They've entertained us, they've given us some good racing, so well done, Sauber.
Here's some of the comments that we've got on the Gareth Jones on Speed Facebook page. By the way, if you want to go and visit that, we'd love to see your comments. Colin McMahon says, McLaren instantly reminded me of Virgin's 2010 car. Love the aero on the tip of the nose cones. Yes. Ferrari looks aggressive and fast. Merc had some interesting ideas and rear aero that I hadn't seen elsewhere. And a massive flaw. Someone else concerned about your thing.
Well, my word's going to happen. I've just noticed something. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm still looking at the picture of the Sauber. And you noticed the end plates of the front wing, and also actually on the airbox at the top, it just says power. And that reminds me inexorably of these very cheap Chinese-made toy cars that I bought for my little boy once, which have meaningless things written on them.
Race car.
One of them has Shamrock written on it. It's a model of what is almost but not quite a Lamborghini Murcielago. And it has Shamrock written on the bonnet and the sides for no apparent reason.
It's funny, because actually one of the first things I thought when I saw the picture of the Sauber, apart from that it's a pretty good look, is that, it does really look like a model car. It's just...
yeah, it does. It's quite slab-sided, quite square. Once again, from the comments on the Facebook site, Mark Tully, shark fins are awful. Force India look like they've broken the nose. Yes, they do. Sam Smith, dildos are out. Shark fins are in.
Thanks, Sam.
I don't understand.
I love your nut brown ale.
Yes.
James Markham, the McLaren looks really cheap. He has an air of the old Marussia livery from a few years back. Someone else saying that as well.
Do you know what? It does look a little bit cheap, doesn't it?
It's a bit American.
Yes, that's a good point. Some of the
Yeah, there's
cars,
something
the
in that. I
Sauber,
agree.
for example, actually, you sort of go, Ooh, yes.
On the other hand,
sophisticated
Aaron-
market, and the McLaren is a bit sort of.
Aaron Fothergill reckons that the gold on the Sauber makes it look great, and the orange is probably worth a second a lap for McLaren. Really?
Yeah, he says based on how much everyone's talking about.
that's
That's
Yeah,
exactly right,
yeah.
isn't it? Just
David Leach, Sauber looks like they should have some cigarette branding on theirs. Yes.
It's a bit Lotus 70s. It just has this inevitably makes you think
It
of
needs
Yeah.
Gaulois.
well, no, it is.
Nice
What,
design, doesn't it?
there were some cigarettes that were that colourway, but not Rothmans.
Gaulois?
No. Oh, yeah, Gaulois. are a bit.
Gaulois, yeah.
Could work with that, yeah.
Yeah. Or what was the other French fags that used to advertise on...
Gitan.
Gitan.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. And finally, Gary Presley, the cars look like last year's cars, and the year before that, and the year before that, ignoring a fin and a different rear wing. Add new winglets, really, what are we supposed to get excited
I
about?
have been told by someone who has seen some of these cars now that they seem more different in real life. They look bigger, apparently.
Yeah. Well, they are. They are wider. You need
yeah.
to stand next to it to see that. They
And
will have more
they're
presence.
a bit more dramatic in real life. Of course, that's Jack Diddley used to most of us because we're not going to all the races. We're watching this on telly, but I think maybe you'll get more of that effect when you see them all together and you see them on the grid with the perspective of having people around them and stuff like that, which we haven't had so much with only drivers standing next to them. And let's be honest, racing drivers are not normal scale human beings, are they?
But you
They're
know what?
Human whippets.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't-
how they do look a bit more special. When we,
I can't remember the
see
last
them.
time we had so much to talk about the whole grid of F1 cars. So, generally speaking, thumbs up. What a shame it ain't going to help the racing.
Well, it might,
we hope.
but it probably
Wait and see.
won't.
It
Wait and
probably
see.
won't, yeah.
Gareth Jones on speed.
That's it. I have to point out that this is the closest show to St David's Day, and I usually do something Welsh on Gareth Jones on Speed for that show. I'm obliged to under the Welshman living abroad
There's
rule.
some legislation. That
Yeah, there
says
is,
you
yeah.
have to.
And it's also not only the show closest to St David's Day, but also the show closest to the 40th anniversary of the tragic death of Tom Price at Kyalami in 1977, the only Welsh Formula One driver, the only Welshman to win a Formula One race. I know I've put the Tom Price song in the show before, but here's a new version of it, recorded with English lyrics this time. Not a direct translation of my original Welsh lyric, but something that tells the story. You've been listening to Gareth Jones on Speed. He was Zog.
Goodbye.
He was Richard.
Goodbye.
I was Gareth, and here's Tom Price. See ya.
John Watson told me Tom was just a lad, not fierce, no trouble, not the slightest bit bad. Speed, I'm sure, was all that he knew, from Clwyd or Denbighshire, where I come from too. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Alwyn. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Alwyn. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. We first saw his speed one day at Silverstone when he put his car on pole position, and then with effort he emerged from the shadows at Brands Hatch when he won in the race of the champions. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Alwyn. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Alwyn. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. In Kyalami in 77, Renzo Zorzi caught fire. A boy ran to help him. Janssen Van Voeren ran over the track. The Clwyd boy hit him, and that was that. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Alwyn. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. Tom Price, we Welsh called him best didn't forget where he came from. In one awful moment, both lives relinquished a flame of Welsh hope. Crushed, extinguished. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Melvin. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. Tom Price, we Welsh called him Melvin. He beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. Not only Wales remembers Melvin, the world of racing knows also about him. Writ large on the wall, back home in Riffin, he beat the best, didn't forget where he came from. Fegirov y goreon, heb gefni ar ei gynefu. Almighty, victorious, thy great name we praise.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site, follow us on Twitter, or to find out about sponsorship opportunities, go to garethjones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whiz Bang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!